I have to say I do feel like I'm a member of the public service here in Dominica, and that's a distinguished feeling. When I attended the Independence Day parade, I realized the international partners went on one side, and I went with the members of the public service. So I am fully embraced, and I thank you for that. So good morning, and I first must, of course, extend apologies for the United Nations, Barbados, and the OECS resident representative, AI, Ms. Chisa McCamey, who would have wished to be here and who sends her regards. Ms. McCamey and the former resident representative, Mr. Stephen O'Malley, you will all recall, were fully committed to the success of this initiative, as have we all in UNDP. I guess I'm very fortunate that my colleague, Mr. Tossi, has given us, I'm saying here, a good outline, I would say a comprehensive outline of the achievements of the project, and we have shared some of the printed material. I'm trusting everyone has had a copy for further reference. So I guess I'm very also fortunate that my role is not to go through the specifics of what we have collectively been able to do, but perhaps to acknowledge the significance of the inputs and how these have contributed to the recovery and resilience sought by this country. Clearly, the government of the People's Republic of China deserves to be acknowledged for the continued contribution to this region, and specifically to the Commonwealth of Dominica, as well as, of course, Antigua and Barbuda. When UNDP was invited to support this initiative, the questions were really, how do we go through the process of procuring and delivering this material within the allotted time? What material and how much precisely? And then later, how do we realize the installation? Additionally, for the Government of Dominica, China Aid, and UNDP, just installation of roofs was not enough. Many partners in Dominica in late 2017 and early 2018, and some of them are sitting at the back of the room, wrestled with the how and the what of roof restoration. Fortunately, we did this together under the leadership of the Ministries of Housing and Planning to seek common solutions. In this respect, we are all indebted to the Permanent Secretaries Gloria Joseph and Lucian Blackmore, as well as their teams, not least Kelvin Rule, Naomi Dorval, and Hilarion Jules. We were also greatly assisted by Engineers Without Borders, as you would have heard. First, to ensure that we work towards the national building standards, and also to provide solutions and quality assurance during implementation. Regarding the implementation, UNDP was able to work with a number of partners, such as All Hands and Hearts, AmeriCares, Caritas, Emergency Architects, IFRC, IOM, ISRAID, but also the Ministry of Health's Project Management Unit, and the Dominica State College, and the laborers and engineers from our great friends from Cuba, to support houses, schools, medical clinics, hospital buildings, and of course the important facility that we are at now, the Dominica State College. While, as noted, the rehabilitation of roofs was important, we appreciate these are but a fraction of what needs to be done by individuals and families. As my colleague, Massimiliano Tossi, noted, the comprehensive building damage assessment conducted in concert with the Ministry of Housing between October 2017 and January 2018 illustrated that 29,431 buildings were impacted, 18% of which were totally destroyed, 26% major damage, 28% moderate, and 27% minor damage. I tend not to be specific, but in this case I am specific because we are that confident with the results of that comprehensive building damage assessment. So there may be we are estimating 1, 2, maybe 3 buildings that escaped us in Dominica, but we're pretty confident about the number of buildings that we assessed and that exist. Noting the foregoing, it's clear that the project provided an opportunity to improve the understanding and capacities to build resilient structures consistent with the national building standards. This was done with a vigorous outreach program in conjunction with the Ministry of Planning and Engineers Without Borders to train over 350 construction workers in appropriate building standards, Housing guidelines were revised in conjunction with construction professionals. So let me just say that. So it's not just that this was done independently and separately, but this was done really as a part of the process of outreach and training to go through it in an iterative manner to make sure what you see, and we have them here, really are clear, consistent, and clear and consistent with those housing standards. And lastly, of course, the public outreach, and I think Max went in great detail in that. We know that over 2,000 of these housing guidelines have been printed, and there are a few here. There have been, I believe, a further 5,000 electronic copies downloaded from our social media, not to mention those from government's own portals. So we know that there's a broad outreach. I can report to you that Spanish versions of this document are available, and Ambassador, we have to ensure that we share a copy with you. Not that you don't know how to do it, but that you have a memento in your language from Dominica. And this will be available. As was said, and PS stole my thunder a little bit, we did have a model roof at our Carnival, the 2018 Carnival, to showcase the process of what a resilient roof looks like in terms of the spacing of the purlines and the rafters and the materials to be used. And we have to applaud our colleagues from Engineers Without Borders for really coming up with that idea and developing these roofs. And we had a band on the road. I trust that some of you saw the band, and the band was trying to illustrate the most effective way of installing galvanized sheeting. And of course, the caption would have been, "Don't nail it, screw it." So don't nail your sheets down, you have to screw them down. In all of the above, the key themes really have been partnership and cooperation. In this respect, special mention must be made to some individuals. While we were able to address re-roofing of houses, schools, clinics, and hospital buildings, the Dominica State College was a more demanding challenge. Our engineers said to us, look, we do need special skills for this. We do note the commitment of the government of Cuba, and specifically Ambassador Juan Carlos Frometa de la Rosa, to provide the team necessary for this job. Even before there was agreement that the Cubans would be here, Ambassador was here, I would say, scoping, discussing what was possible and what was needed and how it could be done. We are fully aware that this was only possible given the leadership and commitment of the Honorable Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit in determining that this is where he would prioritize the support from the government of Cuba, and we're very thankful to that. Appreciation, of course, must go to you, Dr. Peters, and I have to say you're a very able lieutenant, Mr. Brian Mead, whose unwavering commitment, enthusiasm, and never say no die attitude ensure that we are here today to celebrate this process. We must also, of course, appreciate the commitment of Ambassador Lucan and my good friend, Mr. Wang Ho, from the Chinese Embassy in Dominica, who paid close attention to what we were doing on the ground and encouraged us to realize the goals when at times, I have to say, these seemed beyond the possible. But you ensured that we got here, and we did so within the context of the agreements we had. We applaud the great effort by all, particularly the government and citizens of Dominica, in the ongoing recovery. We would also want to recommend the continued and enhanced outreach efforts to realize resilient reconstruction as supported under the China Aid Initiative, and remain willing and able to continue our participation in and support to these efforts. So I thank you very much.